Hello and welcome to episode 92 of When the Flames Go Up, the ATFC podcast. What a number! What a number to start the season with. Same old intro, same old effects, same old intro, basically, from me to say thanks for listening. And this episode will be discussing our preseason predictions and looking ahead to Boston away at the weekend to start the season. For the shots, we've got CJ, Guy, and Julian on the main pod, and a voice note from Ian to guide us through our hopes and fears for the season. Less fears, less fears this season, I would say. We're all pretty hopeful. But yeah, let us know how you're feeling about the season on the various channels that you see this in, and we'll be back next week. We should be most weeks until September when we start playing midweek games. But I'll let you know as soon as those things change. In the meantime, enjoy your trip up to Boston, and of course, as always, up the shots. So we are back. Football is back as we broadly know it. We've had the World Cup and plenty of other things going on over the summer to while ourselves away. We've had plenty of signings for Aldershot Town. Scott Davis getting his feet under the table with, I think, no less than 22 signings. Last time I checked, including himself. Are we counting him as a signing? Not sure. He might become a new signing if an injury crisis hits the shots later in the season. We haven't got time to run through all of them because if we dedicate a minute to each of them, that'll be the end of the episode. So we'll try and cover some of them, some of the more important ones as we go through. And yeah, we'll get a bit of predictions for the season from panel tonight. We've got CJ dialing in at 5:30 in the morning in New Zealand in his champagne Aldershot shirt. We've got Julian boiling in South Wales, and we've got Guy. I don't know, midway between. Is that? I mean, CJ cold, Julian's boiling. Guys, just living life.
Well, we do have a heat wave, but we're about to have a thunderstorm. I can see the lightning.
Nice, nice. It'll be good to know what rain does feel
Mm.
like because it has been a barren summer here. So yeah, we'll start off. I'll come to you, Guy, first. To be honest, let's go around the room with one of your favourite signings so far this summer. I mean, this is kind of going to be a bit of a stab in the dark as well because our favourite signings will become our favourite signings as we see more of them. But yeah, maybe a player
Yeah,
you're most looking forward to seeing this season.
yeah, exactly. I mean, thanks for that, Will, because I honestly don't really know. I mean, I'm sure we're going to keep coming back to it, but these players are all a new bunch to me. It's an entirely new squad, let alone a team. So, who we're going to actually see on the day, I'm not quite sure. That said, I mean, I think I'm a little bit keen for a couple of players, though. I think Nick Hayes, the new goalkeeper we've got coming in, he seems a bit of a character. He's got, a number of, EFL, uh, you know, games under his belt, quite a few. So hopefully he should be a solid, solid presence at the back, and we need that because I don't want to sort of keep rehearsing everything I said last season and the season before, but we tended to leak a lot at the back, and if we can just plug that up, then I think we look solid. And we seem to have brought in quite a few signings up front, which is quite exciting. And I think, I suppose, of all of them, and I'm sure we'll come to some of them, so I'm only going to pick out the one that I'm particularly interested in is Basil Tuma, the Ugandan-born Maltese international, as a sort of a fellow Maltese second nationality. I'm quite looking forward to that. But it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of these players are coming up, I think, or have come around the National League South, so a division below. I think a lot of them have something to prove. And I think there's been a talk about some of them going from a semi-professional career to a more professional one at Aldershot. So this is going to be quite exciting. This is a real opportunity for them. And I think, we're sort of at a place where I'm looking forward to basically all of them and seeing who really starts to perform.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That's two big names ticked off. Yeah. Nick Hayes in goal, and yeah, Basil Tuma, who's got an interesting story since not since his release, but in his progression at Reading. He seems to be just getting loads of degrees in. I can't remember which degree he did before and which one he's doing now, but yeah, he's a very well spoken man. And yeah, you mentioned the yeah part-time players becoming full-time players, and in that location football video, I don't know if everyone's seen it, I presume, but if not, type that in. It's the last kind of two videos on their YouTube channel. But yeah, Kiki Osulaja gets a little talking to, and he kind of puts himself in the top six leaders of the team so far, and he potentially is going from part-time to being a captain of a full-time football club, or near on it there or thereabouts, which is going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. Yeah, Julian, I'll come to you next. You're the kind of signing you're most looking forward to seeing this season.
Yeah, thanks, Will. I've got three names that are sort of top of my pile, and for different reasons. As guys mentioned already, Basil Tuma is an interesting one, and I think he's going to offer something quite exciting for the team. He's very direct. He's willing to take people on, and again, as Guy pointed out earlier on, and I think that the backbone of this team is going to be about energy and being fearless. And I'm wondering whether that's going to be to our downfall, being the fearless option. But I just think he's going to be one of those players that can potentially excite the supporters. So really looking forward to seeing him. The other two, just very quickly, Will. I've got to get my head around how to say this. So I'm just going to go for Elijah first of all, which is his first name. Elijah with that throw-in that has just blown every single ever throw-in out the water. This guy can launch the ball from the halfway line almost, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him play. I don't think he's going to be in the starting 11, but what a weapon to have on the bench if you're behind. You've got 10 minutes to go. You throw him on, and he launches that ball into a bit like the pre-season friendly that's just gone at Braintree, where he's done that very same thing. And Scotty was quite funny in one of his interviews. He almost apologised for that being the winning goal, which I thought was quite funny. But yeah, they all count. So really looking forward to seeing what he can offer. And the third one that interests me as well, again a bit of what Guy was alluding to, is the defence, and I think Michael Strickland could be a really important signing for us. He's not so long ago he was being touted as real talent within English football. Was in the Reading first team at 17, and they were in the Championship at that time. So there's so much potential there, and I'm not quite sure how he's not maintained that, or whatever the reasons are. But for me, he could become a really important signing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he shapes up.
It's lovely, yeah. And with your commentators head on, being able to say he's throwing on Elijah Alodonjoye, that'll be good, throwing him on for a bit. So that'll be, make sure you say that every time he comes on this season. And CJ, I'll come to you next. Your favourite signing ahead of this season?
I think the guys have covered it pretty well, but I think the two real big names we sort of missed out is Gilbert and Denanga. I think those are probably going to be really pivotal signings for us going forwards. I think there's your two top goal scorers for the season. I think Basil Tuma's obviously going to be in there as well, and it'll be interesting to see how Tristan Abrahams fits in, because we've also got a striker on loan on trial at the moment as well, and Alfonso Tenconi, or however you pronounce it, who's been out in America for the last couple seasons in the universities, and he was a real exciting prospect who scored 12 for Slough when he was with Scott Davis previously. So I think that's another exciting looking prospect. The fact that I think the other thing as well is the transparency the club have had with trialists this year. Like, we announced Elijah, how are we pronouncing that? Elijah Odesanya, is that right? Oladunjoy. We announced that like pretty much straight away as a trialist. Obviously, you couldn't really miss it because his video went straight online. And then obviously Alfonso Tenconi was announced on the without trialist A or anything like that as well. So maybe these are just signings we're going to make and we're just open about it. But yeah, I think Denanga is going to be the one. I think he's the one that excites me the most. When I saw that name, I was like, wow. Like that's out of the blue. That's the one that's I think really going to turn the season around. I think Hakeem Sander as well is going to be one that's going to go under the radar a little bit, but I think he's going to be very good. And obviously Brody Pert staying. I think he had a big impact last year, in big moments. And I think this free flowing attacking football that Scott Davis is going to play, I think Brody Pert's going to be a big part of that off the left hand side as well. So I'm excited to see how it all molds together. You look at the age of the squad; it's all pretty balanced now. Like we haven't really, it's not really young, but it's not crazy old at the same time. It's just that sort of middle ground. So I think it's a nice balance in terms of the group. Yeah, I'm really excited. I think Gilbert's going to be an outstanding player from what I've seen so far with the footage and stuff like that. I think he looks like the one that's going to sort of take the team by the scruff of the neck at times and sort of drag us through almost that like Bruno Fernandes-esque character. Obviously, just on a non-league scale.
It's nice. Well, yeah, I was waiting for Denanga's name to come up as well, because yeah, I was the same as you. When I saw that name, I had to check a couple of times and check it was the same one. I was just like, oh, we must have got his brother that played for Slough a couple of years back or something. But no, it was the real Marcus Denanga that's I've seen cause Aldershot trouble down the years, and I've seen him score goals everywhere he goes. And he is that kind of number 9, could get you 20 goals a season striker, which that's basically the most exciting thing you can bring into a club, I think. Obviously, here's hoping it actually does work out and he can score. But yeah, with the prospect of having this kind of direct running team, especially with a lot of wide balls, especially Brody Pert's the widest player I've seen play for Aldershot since like Ryan Williams or someone. So he basically just fits into that Scott Davis mold straight away, it seems. Although that is from someone that's not watched any preseason, so we could be the narrowest team on earth. But I think we're going to be the way it looks. We've got plenty of wingers and plenty of people that can stick wide. So hopefully Denanga could be that poacher that we've seen and get us a bag full of goals. At 28, he's in the prime of his goal scoring abilities, I think and hope. So yeah, next question I had on my list was, what game are you most looking forward to this season? Now it's tough with Aldershot because we play in the National League every year and we will do for the rest of our lives. But are there any new ones that maybe stick out to you? So Guy, I'll come to you first.
Remind us, what is it? Is it the 15th season straight that we're in the National League, making us the longest serving stalwart, something like that? Anyway, I mean, look, in terms of the games that I'm looking forward to, it'll probably come no surprise to listeners because I am a stray shot and I'm outside of the UK. I only ever look forward to the games when I know I'm going to be back in the UK. So I'm looking to get down to the Hartlepool game, the second game of the season, first game at the Rec, or sorry, EBB. A nice summer day to watch the football. I'm looking forward to that. Then, of course, I'll probably be back again around Christmas, New Year. So, I mean, if I can get tickets, the Woking game would be great at Boxing Day. I think most people will probably say something similar as well. But I mean, failing that, there's also the Worthing game on the 28th or 29th, which is, I think it's a bank holiday Monday. It'll be 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It'll be dark. It'll be cold. It'll be miserable. But I'll be watching my shots, and that's all that matters to me.
Yes, yeah, we got another kind of weird spell there. We got Carlisle away on the 20th, and then Worthing away on the 28th. So we couldn't really get any further away. Those two teams. Julian, I'll come to you next. Ones you're looking forward to this season?
Yeah, it's quite a simple answer for me, and it's the first one. I just love the first game of the season, whoever it's against. It's that hope that kills you, isn't it? I'm with my and the guys always rip me apart with this, but with my positive hat on, we're joint top of the league at the moment. Even if the worst happens on Saturday, we're going to be 3 points behind the leaders. And so for me, the first game of the season is always the best one.
Yes, love that. Yeah, I'm as someone that's been kind of not watching the preseason games, or keeping tabs on them because I'm just like, that's the players, get the players ready for the 8th, and I'm buzzing for Boston. I can't wait. Can't wait. As soon as I had those train tickets booked, I was like, oh, it's all real again. It did really help get over the semi-final defeat at the hands of Argentina to book that like 2 days later. CJ, I'll come to you next. Your games that you're looking forward to this season.
I think the first one is obviously the one we're all excited about because it's a whole new group, so we don't know what to expect. We got a manager stepping up, we got a whole new group, and I think Boston are in a quite a good place as well. So but they've also had a mass turnaround. So I think it's a really exciting period. I'm excited to see what goes on. I think the key one for me will be around the 1st of September time or early September, that Eastleigh, Halifax, Solihull sort of period where we've kind of settled in a little bit. It's that like 5, 6, 7 weeks in, and the group sort of found their place a little bit, and then we can sort of see where we're at. It'll be interesting to see how other teams do. I look at like Eastleigh. I think they might struggle this year, but obviously you never know. That's the other thing. But you go on the early predictions and stuff. A lot of teams aren't as hopeful for Eastleigh, but they're also not as hopeful for us either. So make of that what you do. Like it's early stages, but I think this fearless team that we got put together, the group seems quite together. And I think Scott Davis, I think Josh Parrott hit the nail on the head the other day. He did an interview where he was shocked that he left under the circumstances that he did, but he said that Scott Davis really does care about the club and the passion's there. And look, he did a great job at Slough, so I'm excited to see how it all goes, really. But yeah, I think that September period will be massive for us in terms of where this sort of season is dictated.
Nice. Yes. Well, I was going to mention the one in September. Yeah, the Solihull Moors is another one that I'm looking forward to. It's the Edgbaston Test against Pakistan. So I'm going to day 3 with my mates, and I'm dragging them all along to Solihull Moors away because for some reason the fixture computer has done me an absolute solid and meant that we could just go from Edgbaston to Solihull on the Saturday. So very excited for that one. And then I just wanted to mention we've got Carlisle. What was the other one? Carlisle and Southend are locked in on Saturdays that I don't think should get called off. So we should be in for some bumper home games. There's another one as well. I was going to say Barrow at home, but yeah, that's not necessarily a huge following, but just that's quite a big, nice game to have in a February Saturday. Yeah, very exciting. So bringing it all on. So the next questions I had were really about the predictions for the season, so that we can laugh at each other at the end of the season when we're completely wrong. So yeah, I'll go around. Let's go to you, Guy. Can I get your player of the season prediction and league prediction? League prediction.
Yeah.
Nearly sounded like Lee Dixon, but league position prediction.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm going to say that it really depends. So it depends really a bit on how the team performs. Because if we're sort of, free flowing and scoring, I mean, I can certainly see how Daninga, who CJ alluded to, could really be up there as our potential sort of, goal scorer and potential player of the season. And I think, and also I didn't say it before, but I'm really looking forward to seeing, whether Tristan Abrahams is finally going to bring it this season as well, with the change of management, with a change of squad around him, opportunities. This is the make or break season for him. So I'd really like to see him, sort of turn it around and become player of the season. But again, if it's not so much about goal scoring and we are looking to be more solid at the back, I always like those understated players that we sometimes overlook because of the sort of the flashiness of the goal scorers. So someone solid like as Julian was talking about, Michael Strickland, if he can do a job and become a solid centre back for us and just be reliable, he could well become player of the season. So where are we going to end up? I mean, I'm going to like everybody, we're all optimistic at the start of the season, and I think anywhere other than sort of the bottom 4 positions is going to be optimistic in our case. I'm going to go with mid-table, 11th, 12th.
Love it. I feel there's quite a lot of 11th and 12th that I've seen of Shots fans predictions, just because it just that's like, you can't, I don't know. It doesn't feel like you can shove us up to that playoff place, but it also feels like we don't want to be aspiring to be a 5th bottom, which it could go that way, but I guess it's optimism at the start of the season, especially with a new group. Speaking of optimism, Julian, your player of the season prediction and position.
Okay, so I am desperately hoping it's Marcus Daninga that gets player of the season, because if it is, then that means he has done 15, 20 goals, whatever it is. So he's my hope. Um, you guys might be surprised at my prediction that I'm going to make. So what I'm looking for here is, CJ said it at the start. We just don't know what we're going to get this season. Um, I have a bit of a fear in that we need a bit more experience, and I'm desperately hoping we can actually add one or two experienced names into this group, and we may find that we need to do that come early September time. But I think we're going to finish around about 17th. So I think we're going to hopefully not be in a relegation battle. So I'm expecting us to start well. But I think whether or not we can keep that going. So I would expect us sort of at 11th or 12th, perhaps by Christmas, but that we may just start to fall away a little bit in the new year and end up in 17th. So that's my prediction.
Nice. That's realistic. I think. So, yeah, 17th feels. I mean, it's very Aldershot to finish 17th. I think we probably average out at finishing about 17th in this league. Then we did do it at the end of last season. It was one of the questions, but I can't remember the answer. I think it worked out as like 15th is our average. So yeah, we will see. And CJ, your player of the season and position prediction.
I'm going to go probably John Gilbert for player of the season. I feel like he's going to be a mainstay in the team. I think if he touch wood, he obviously has an injury-free season. I think he'll be one of the influential players in the group, obviously in that centre midfield role as well, that attacking midfield. I think he's going to be quite pivotal to us. So probably him. And then I'm probably going to go somewhere in between Julian and Guys, probably like a 15th or something like that, just 14th, 15th, somewhere around that space where we're not looking over our shoulder too much, and we've still got that aspiring hope of a little run of results that might take us to the playoffs. I was actually really shocked and almost fell out of my seat when Julian said 17th instead of 7th. I thought the Scott Davis promotion bus was fully rolling in Julian's eyes. Maybe when we win the first three, it might change around a little bit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I'm
You're
also
absolutely right. It's
disappointed
going to
that
be
Scott
seven. It's going to be
Davis isn't
7th.
16th.
No, yeah, I mean, I agree with Guy and Julian. To be honest, I'm fingers crossed. I'm hoping that it is Marcus Denanga because I think, yeah, we have spent years waiting for a striker that can be that focal point and score a load of goals. And I think that would weigh more that side if he got goals to anyone else that could chip in with assists or a really good season. If someone comes here and scores 15, 20 goals, they are player of the season because we don't see it very often. We usually got a midfielder scoring 10 goals and that being the top or sometimes the centre back. So yeah, a striker scoring goals will be player of the season. And yeah, I think I did the National League prediction league table thing. And to be honest, going off zero research and just off mainly vibes and off last season's league, I feel like there's again quite a few really strong teams at the top. So I think there's going to be kind of five or six decent teams that are going to sail ahead of everyone else. I think there's just going to be that mass that we had last season where there was just kind of bang average teams fighting for that big chunk of league positions. So that does mean, yeah, it could be 17th to 10th potentially. So somewhere in between that. I think I put us at 14th on that prediction. So that's going to be my attempt. So nobody's put us in the top. Well, Guy said 11th/12th. That's top half. But we can only dream. I'm just going to write this down for safekeeping. What we're going to move on to then? We do need to move on to the actual Boston United game, which is at the weekend. But a quick FA Cup and FA Trophy prediction / hopes. I mean, I guess the FA Trophy is more a hope because we want to progress in that one. FA Cup could get a bad draw, and that's the end of that. So let's go around the room. Guy, your FA Cup and FA Trophy predictions / hopes.
Yeah, I think probably second round of the cup, maybe fourth or fifth round of the trophy. I mean, who knows? I mean, it's all knockout, right? And we don't know who we get. But just from what you've just said about our predictions for the league, it does suggest to me that we probably do need to put a bit of a cup run in, because that's where we're going to make some revenue. I mean, and it's also going to sort of. So I mean, I guess we always need to see how far and how deep we can go into these competitions. But we've got a better chance at it with a trophy. But then again, you don't know who you're going to get. I mean, are we going to repeat what we did 2 seasons ago? It's a long shot, and I think we had a lot of that was also down to luck of the draw, that we got Spennymoor in the final rather than Rochdale. So who knows? But I'm going to say maybe we'll get through the first, second rounds that we're in, but beyond that, not sure.
Nice. Julian, what do you reckon?
Yeah, very similar to Guy. I think the main thing is to make some money from it, because it's such a different story. If you go out early in both those competitions and there's no money coming in, that's going to obviously put pressure if there's any injuries, and we need to top up the team with some signings, in the new year. Then, and there's no money to do it, then that makes it a lot harder. So my main aim, I don't care where we are in the cups, but that we can make some money. So even if it's first round against Reading, a heap of money, I'm happy with that.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be a thought shared by many. I think that's basically what Terry Brown said in one of his the clips that I saw. Avoid relegation and a good cup run. I mean, that's the dream when you cut a budget to 85% of what it was. Like, yeah, staying up and getting a nice decent wedge from a good home game. That would be the dream. CJ, your hopes for the FA Trophy and FA Cup?
Yeah, I think Scott Davis will be. I think he'll be more than keen to try and get a good cup run together. I think he'll be desperate for it. Really. Obviously, we all know what his passion for the club is and stuff like that. And I think promotion in this first year will probably be out of the question. Obviously, I'm not going to say it's completely unattainable, but I think a cup run, like a good. Obviously, he was there for the FA Trophy final, so I think he'll want that again. I think he'll want that moment. Obviously, we'd all love a big FA Cup home game, like a United at home again, that sort of scenario where we just generate a huge atmosphere and support. And I think the other thing as well to take into consideration is, like Terry Brown mentioned in Location Football, is most of the players have signed 2-year deals this year. So this isn't just a one-term rollover season. This is like a long-term build. So I think a mid-table-ish sort of finish and then a good cup run to build on going into next year is more appealing than scraping the barrel near the bottom and doing what you can at times. So I think the focus will be on a cup, probably the FA Trophy again, just because of how good of a day that was, and then obviously see what happens in the FA Cup. So I'd love a second round proper, or Reading at home, like you guys mentioned, and then final. I think at Wembley again would be nice, just so I can try and get back for it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, might as well tick up all our hopes and dreams. Reading at home, Wembley, Manchester United. It's why not? I was just thinking then, if you look through that list of players and like some of the histories that they've had, in their young careers and stuff, it does scream like BBC commentator reading them out on a Saturday evening for a big FA Cup game in January. So here's hoping. But yeah, I think FA Trophy. Obviously, Scott Davis was with the team when we lost in the semi-finals to Ebbsfleet all those years ago. So I'm sure he'll want to right the wrongs of that. Maybe give himself a game as well. If we do end up playing Ebbsfleet, just to really get one over on them. So that's my prediction.
Hi all, the Scott Davis era properly gets underway on Saturday up in Lincolnshire. I'm excited and nervous in equal measure as the club legend that is Scott Davis makes the step up to manager from the division below. Scott did a very good job at Slough Town, and the league placings of the Rebels may not excite all, but they're very good efforts under the circumstances at that club. Similar performances and results will be required by the new man to keep us in the division, with a significant cut to the budget on last year, when we were very fortunate to survive with just 46 points. Of the recruitment, it was a good move to get Davis signed early, and the majority of the transfer business following not soon after. I'm hopeful that this will give us a crucial good start, and I'm hoping plenty of time to work on patterns of play, and will have given the friendlies much more meaning than they have in previous years, where we've seemed to sift through endless try lists. I've watched Slough a number of times last season when not able to get to the shots, and the recruitment's been interesting. Of course, it was expected to see Scott return to his former club, to make signings, and of the main players that he signed up, John Gilbert, I think, is going to be the key man for the shots. He was a standout player as a number 10 for Maidstone, as well as Slough previously, and his creativity and goals will be vital to our chances this year, especially with the departure of Josh Barrett. I believe he can make the step up, and I can see him quickly become a fan's favourite. Basil Tuma joins from Reading after loans at Arbour Park, and I think the National League will be a good fit for him in midfield. Of the other ex-Slough contingent in defence that I've watched, Dice and Oshalaja look less obvious candidates for the step up, and this may be the area where we're more vulnerable. The fixture compilers have given us a reasonable run of games to begin with, in my view, and I'm hopeful that we can make the most of having longer to gel and get some confidence into our players that they belong at this level. The points on the board will help if or when likely things get tougher once other clubs are up and running, and perhaps crucially able to make more changes, having more of a budget than the shots. I'm hopeful overall, though, we'll do well enough to avoid the drop, but there will be plenty of times, I think, through the season when that faith will be tested. Cheers.
Got not much time to talk about specifically about Boston. It's Paul Hurst's Boston, changed manager in December or January last season. They finished 12th and had a slightly more consistent season than the season before, which was obviously a crazy escape from second bottom to just comfortable mid-table, surpassing us in the process. I've looked through some of their signings, didn't really recognise them. Quite a few young players that have come from different places, but Holohan from Hartlepool, 34-year-old centre mid, probably the standout of those signings. They've kept quite a few players as well, but generally pretty inexperienced. I think they're about the same average age as us, but we've obviously got a 38-year-old on our books that we can probably take out of that equation. Still got Linnell John Lewis, of course. Wouldn't be a Boston team without him in there. What are our thoughts ahead of this one? Guy, come to you. Let's have a look. 3 minutes 40 left.
Yeah, I mean, just to sort of come to, I mean, you mentioned Holohan, but they've also very recently made Niall Canavan signing, who was he had over 400 EFL appearances as well. He's going to be playing at centre back, so he could provide a bit of solidity. But I think you're quite right to point out that this that Paul Hurst came in January, so they did improve. They went from around 17th in the league back in January up to 12th by the end of the season. So this is his first full season. They're doing a bit of a rebuild like us. And certainly from what I understand from looking at some of their reporting from pre-seasons, they're still just trying to work out how all these players play together with each other. In terms of the formation that they're going to be playing on Saturday, I don't think we should read too much into it. Certainly he did like to play 3-4-3 last season. He said in his pre-season friendlies that he's looking to play between 3 and 5, which could be an issue for us because one of the things that Scotty Davis was talking about after one of our first preseasons, I think it was Badshot Lee, he said that we did struggle a bit with sort of the low press. So if players get behind the ball on Saturday, we may find it a little bit difficult, and even playing it out to the wings may not make much of a difference. In terms of the odds, it's leaning much more towards Boston than towards Aldershot. But I think a lot of this is at this early stage. I think it's a case of both us and Boston. We don't really know what is going to be our settled formation. This is the first game of the season. Things are going to change. So I don't read a lot into it. We'll just see how it plays out.
That we will. Thank you, Guy. Julian, you're on co-coms at the weekend, I believe. How are you feeling out of this one?
Yeah, co-coms with Rob for BBC Surrey. I am feeling quite optimistic. It's a good time to play them, I think, because they're, as Guy alluded, they're a bit inexperienced, untried. Lost to Hedensford 2-0 at the weekend, who have just been promoted from Step 4. So, they've got some things to work out as well. So, good time to play them.
Stuff. And finally to you, CJ, how are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, I'm excited. I was just looking at their pre-season. They lost 1-0 to Lincoln first game, beat Alfreton 2-1, and then beat Peterborough 1-0, drew with Grimsby 0-0, and then obviously, as Julian just mentioned, then Hednesford lost 2-0 to them. So like it's a very mixed bag of results really, and it obviously depends on what they were trying to get out of those games as well. So I'm excited. I think it's the first step for most of these lads at Step 1. So yeah, I think we've got nothing to lose, really. The boys will go into it with optimism and attacking threat, and I think Scott Davis will be adamant on it as well.
So absolutely, I'm very excited to see what that attacking style looks like away at Boston at the weekend, and I'm sure we'll discuss it next week on the pod. Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Guy. Thank you, Julian.
Thanks, guys. Up the shots.
Thank you. See, look, fingers crossed for the weekend.
Up the shots.
Up the shots.